Which state's lawyer should you hire for a multi-state tax problem? How to choose correct when your tax trouble crosses multiple state lines. Choosing wrong can cost you everything. If you're facing a tax problem that involves more than one state, you're already in a more dangerous position than most taxpayers realize. What starts as a simple audit in one state can trigger matching inquiries, shared data, and coordinated enforcement from multiple tax agencies across the country and federally, each with its own rules, deadlines, and penalties. And here's the part that surprises most people. Choosing the wrong lawyer or accountant for a multi-state issue can make the problem worse, not better. Before you hire anyone, you need to understand what type of attorney can actually protect you. Hi, I'm David W. Klasing. I'm a dual-licensed California tax attorney and CPA who has additionally earned a master's degree in taxation and has nearly 30 years of tax experience. And for decades, I've helped clients across the United States resolve complex, multi-jurisdictional tax disputes, including IRS matters intertwined with state audits from places like California, New York, Texas, Arizona, Florida, and dozens of others. Each state has its own system, and the IRS has its own priorities, so choosing correctly matters. Here's why multi-state tax problems are so darn dangerous. Multi-state tax issues are never simple because every jurisdiction involved has different statute limitations, different residency tests, different sourcing rules, different penalties, and different audit methodology. Also, different levels of aggression. Different ways of sharing information with the IRS as well. If you mishandle even one of these moving parts, you risk triggering a domino effect, where each state opens its own case and the IRS follows right behind them. Do you really need a lawyer in the state where the problem started? Not necessarily. Most taxpayers assume they must hire a lawyer in the state initiating the audit. But in a multi-state tax matter, that's rarely required. Why? Because state tax agencies don't require your attorney to be physically located in their state, as long as the attorney is properly licensed and legally permitted to represent you. In fact, what matters far more than geography is whether your attorney understands the state tax code, whether they know how the tax agency shares data with the IRS, whether they can manage multi-state exposure comprehensively, whether they can coordinate strategy between jurisdictions, whether they have a national level of tax defense experience. Hiring a lawyer purely because they're physically located in the state where the issue is could leave you unprotected against the other states that get pulled in next. When do you need a lawyer from the specific state that's involved in the controversy? Well, there are exceptions. You may need local counsel if the case proceeds to an in-state litigation. You must appear before a state tax tribunal. The state requires in-state counsel for certain administrative hearings. You're fighting a residency case with highly local factual dispute. But most taxpayers never reach that point. Not if the case is handled correctly during the audit, protest, appeals, or administrative resolution. So, who should lead a multi-state tax case? A single, high-quality attorney CPA should quarterback the entire case, coordinated with state-specific CPAs where necessary and advisable. Because multi-state issues require a unified strategy, federal and state tax coordination, attorney-client privilege, communications and accounting and legal work product, litigation awareness, IRS exposure management, knowledge of how states share information. If you let multiple isolated lawyers handle different states independently, you lose coherence and the individual cases start contradicting each other. That's how people end up with conflicting residency positions, double taxation, missed deadlines, unintentional criminal tax admissions, and escalated penalty. One central legal team should coordinate everything. Today's tax agencies share more data than ever. States now share information automatically through the IRS, through the Federation of Tax Administrators, through interstate data matching programs, through payroll and employment databases, through residency analytics, through 1099 and W-2 cross-checks, through out-of-state business registration system. One mistake in one state can trigger exposure in another, and a mistake during an IRS audit can trigger state-level actions you never expected. Your attorney must understand the entire state and federal compliance map, not just one jurisdiction. What kind of attorney should you avoid here? Avoid hiring an attorney who only practices in one state and never handles multiple state matters. Never hire an attorney or a CPA that only prepares returns. CPA-only practitioners lack privilege. Never hire an attorney who doesn't understand how your state issues interact with the IRS and other states, or has no experience with residency, sourcing, or apportionment. Don't hire somebody that focuses on tax preparation instead of tax controversy. Don't hire somebody who cannot coordinate privileged accounting under Covell agreements with all your representatives. Your case requires someone who can think beyond state borders, not someone who only knows the rules where they live. So, what type of attorney should you hire? You should hire a dual licensed tax attorney and CPA. Someone that has national multi-state tax controversy experience, who understands both federal and state exposure, who can control communications with all agents, who can coordinate privileged accounting work, who can negotiate with IRS appeals, state revenue agents, tax tribunals. This combination is extremely rare, but it is essential when your problems cross multiple jurisdictions. Here's why our firm is uniquely qualified for this type of work. At the tax law offices of David W. Klasing, we regularly handle tax disputes involving the IRS, the Franchise Tax Board, the CBTFA, and the EDD. We also deal with the federal implications of all state agencies. Where necessary, we will associate in local Covell CPAs in other states. Each case is coordinated through a unified legal and accounting strategy, so your federal and state tax positions stay consistent, your exposure stays contained, and your rights stay protected. Our attorneys and CPAs work side by side to analyze your federal and state posture simultaneously, not piecemeal. So, if you're facing a multi-state tax audit, an assessment, or a residency dispute, don't guess which state's lawyers you need. Hiring the wrong attorney can create new problems. It can create problems in states that you never expected. Call the tax law offices of David W. Klasing at 800-681-1295 or visit KlasingAssociates.com to schedule a confidential, reduced-rate initial consultation today. We'll help you choose correctly and defend you across every state jurisdiction involved, and especially federally.